Welcome to the channel, my name's Pete. Most videos on the topic of professional iPhone photography will talk about how you can take photos like a professional. But today, we're not talking about being like a professional, we're talking about actually being one. Let's get on with it. Right off the bat, I want to make it very clear that in this video I am in no way saying that an iPhone or iPhone photography should replace traditional photography where pro-level cameras are without question going to be better. What I am saying, however, is that for certain very specific types of work, it just might be. Let me explain. I have personally made a living as a photographer and videographer using my iPhone for the last 5 years now. Given that when I started, I was using an iPhone 7 Plus, it proves that it can be done when, as mentioned a second ago, it's used for a specific type of work. I would never, for example, attempt to photograph a wedding with an iPhone, nor would I expect to get hired to photograph the supercar of a proud owner who wants shots of their pride and joy to get blown up to poster size whilst maintaining super high resolution. Whilst iPhones and smartphones in general have certainly improved hugely since I started 5 years ago, they are not at that level, not yet at least. So if I wouldn't use my iPhone for that sort of work, what sort of work would I use it for? Well, personally, I am using my phone within the automotive industry and more specifically for the car sales industry. I photograph and video in the region of between 15 and 20 cars a day for dealerships and small independent garages so that they can list their cars for sale with a set of decent images. In this very specific type of work, a smartphone really comes into its own. A car dealer is generally after images showing off every single angle of both the interior and exterior, whilst also highlighting all of the main controls, features and selling points, meaning that you're likely to need to take between 25 and 50 photos per car and often more. So you can clearly use a DSLR, for example, for that sort of work. So what are my reasons for using an iPhone? So my first reason is speed, both the speed in which you can take the photos in the first place, and then the speed in which you can deliver them to the end user, which in this case, of course, is the dealership or garage. So firstly, the speed in which you can take the photos. Once you have, in my case, the iPhone settings dialed in just how you like them, there is very little that you need to do other than to point and shoot. All you really need to worry about is the composition and focal length, so the lens that you're going to use, the focusing, and then lastly your exposure. On the iPhone, ultimately that means that you need to point your camera to the thing that you want to take a photograph of, and that's your composition and focal length sorted, tap the screen to lock focus and then slide to adjust exposure. That's those both sorted, and then just take the photo. These actions take seconds. And when you have hundreds of photos to take a day, seconds count. With a proper camera, you might have to adjust settings for exposure for outside the car, then inside the car, then outside the car again, all whilst potentially having to change lenses too, if you're on a fixed focal length lens, of course. The most important element when it comes to speed though, is definitely the speed in which the dealership receives the images from you once they're done. Once they've bought a car with a view to selling it on their forecourt, they need to prep it, which means that they need to put it through their workshop, possibly for service and an MOT, and then they need to get the car validated. And once all of this is done, the car is then ready to sell. The only thing stopping them from advertising it are your images. This is where an iPhone scores its biggest victory, if you like, over its full-frame counterpart, because you can send the images within seconds of taking them through your choice of many different file sharing apps straight to their email. You can see here in real time just how quick that process is. Honestly, in my line of work, it's this lightning fast delivery that really sets the smartphone aside from its full-frame counterparts. The second reason is this, the amount of kit that you have to take. Yes, this is my camera bag. I do have other camera gear and I'll come back to that at the end of the video. But if you're taking a large camera, spare batteries, spare lenses, you might need a bag this size. You might even be taking a tripod as well. When I go to work, I'm not taking this bag. I am literally taking this. And even then, this is for video. So for photos, I just have my phone, and depending on the weather, I'll take an ND filter and a CPL filter, and that's it. So a lot less kit. The last reason is file size and image quality. Now, obviously, you can reduce the file size of any photo should you wish to, and the image quality for that matter as well, and you can do that on any type of camera. But I'm using the iPhone 14 Pro Max currently, and the standard 12 megapixel images it puts out are perfect for the job that I do, and here's why. A dealership is responsible themselves for actually uploading their images to their own website, to AutoTrader, Facebook Marketplace, the list goes on. And as we've already established, potentially they are uploading over 50 photos at a time, so the smaller file size makes iPhone photos perfect from a time-saving standpoint. But Pete, don't smaller file sizes mean the image quality isn't good enough, and does that not matter? And the short answer is no, it doesn't matter, to an extent of course. The majority of people that are looking for a new car are usually doing so on their smartphones during a break at work or whilst also on the sofa watching the telly. None of these people are going to be pixel peaking enough on their small phone screens to be able to tell the difference between a 12 megapixel image, a 48 megapixel one even larger than that. So even though the iPhone I'm using is capable of the larger 48 megapixel image size, I rarely use it for dealership work, if ever. I want to end by saying that I absolutely love a proper camera and proper photography. This video is meant for people who want to get into photography on a professional basis but currently only own a smartphone. For the record, I used to own a Sony a7S III myself until fairly recently, but I sold it because, again, for my line of work, whilst being a fantastic camera, I wasn't getting the use out of it that it deserved, and I wanted to capitalise on its value whilst it still had one. And I have the Sony ZV-1, which I'm filming this on too, so I'm in no way against proper cameras. In fact, I have a job coming up at some point this year where I need to photograph a client's Ferrari, and whilst I got the job off of the back of some iPhone photos, 48 megapixel ones this time, I'd quite like to step it up a bit with some proper camera gear. And on the subject of the camera bag, the kit in there is for filming full car presentations where I might need a drone shot, action camera, suction cupped to the outside of the car, for example. And I'm sure I'll come back to that in future videos. Ultimately, I believe that if the job exists and it can be done with either a smartphone or a pro-level camera, then the choice should be yours as to which one you use, especially if your client is happy with the work that you produce at the end of it. I really hope this video has helped even one person out there to think about the phone that's likely in their hand right now and how it can be used for so much more than just a device to make calls or to watch YouTube on. If you are that one person that it's helped, then please consider subscribing to the channel, liking it, you know the drill. I have a video coming up next week that will show you how you can photograph your car to put it up for sale using nothing but your smartphone, so keep an eye out for that one, of course. Until then, take care. See ya.